This begins Delhi 2010 for the World Netball Champions. The Australian Diamonds first up against Pacific friend Samoa as the green and golds begin their quest for Commonwealth gold. They're here as favourites, but they've been beaten twice this year, once by England and once by the defending Commonwealth Games champions New Zealand. The Aussies were robbed in Melbourne 4 years ago, at least that's how they see it, and former Silver Fern Tanya Dalton. They might also just see India as payback time.
Without doubt, the Diamonds are hurting after relinquishing their gold medal run at the Com Games, gaining just silver in 2006. This team, they want it bad. They've just come off a 2-1 series win against the Silver Ferns, and Sherelle and her side will be doing nothing less than their very best to bring home gold from India.
Well, Tanya, it's been a long time coming, these Commonwealth Games, and so much speculation. This capacity stadium, well, 5,000 people can fit in here, but there's only 500 here.
Yes, but I guess, you know, for both these sides, this is the start of their campaign. For Aussies, this is the start of their quest for gold. They don't care who's in the stand. They're out here. They'll want to start strong against the side like Samoa, which is a perfect start for them, and get their team, get them underway and get a feeling of this Commonwealth Games.
Much talk also about this stadium, about the floor. There were problems in July.
Everybody seems to be happy. We've spoken to majority of the players. They've all had at least one training here in the stadium. The floor feels good. It's international quality. All the players are saying the goals seem to be working fine for all the shooters, and yeah, now it's just a matter of will it hold up for the entirety of the tournament, and without doubt I'm sure it will.
For Australia, a very special day for Sherelle McMahon, their captain. Last night she was the flag bearer for Australia. What a special moment for her.
Unbelievable achievement for her. What does she have? 109 test caps. She's a true inspiration for Australia, not only a female, but a netballer. And that's a huge honour for all these girls and for netball as a sport. It wasn't just her. There was about, I think, 5 flag bearers that were all netballers, which is just fantastic for our game.
Well, some Samoan support here, but not much else. And Tanya, certainly over our lead into this tournament, trying to get into these venues has been a challenge. There have been plenty of challenges. I think it's just fantastic that finally we have a netball game in front of us.
Oh, it is. And there was always going to be challenges. You know, I guess you have to have a laugh about it as you're coming through. Security is tight. Everybody's, you know, keeping an eye on everything. Players are going through the rigmarole of, you know, body searches, feeling up and down. It's just, I guess, a complete culture shock. But, you know, players are here. They're here to do their job. And I guess you just have to take that all into account.
The umpires for this match from New Zealand, Mandy Nottingham, and then Chris Campbell from Jamaica. And in fact, even the umpires have had difficulty getting into the venue. There was a controversy. The tournament organisers here for the netball suggesting that there may have been a delay to the start of play. They couldn't get uniforms in, they couldn't get their officials in, they couldn't even get the ball girls in. They couldn't get ice in for ice baths. Thankfully, it's all been remedied. Let's talk now about the Samoan side. For them, this is a tough start, and they always seem to encounter Australia.
Yeah, they do. And, you know, their build-up, we saw them a few months ago in New Zealand up against the Silver Ferns. They went down by 64 goals. They're struggling, I guess, in terms of resources, not only financially, but player availability. With this new ANZ Championship import rule, it means the player pool that Linda Wagner has to pick from is just gone, sort of thing. The likes of Fina Pulu or Catherine Latu, we all know her name. So Linda's got the best she can possibly do, and I guess they can go out, they'll play with pride for their country, and big ask for their first round.
Samoa were 5th at the last Commonwealth Games, but when you talk about the Samoan side which played at the last Commonwealth Games, they had one player, her name Catherine Latu, and she was an absolute key for them.
Well, we've seen Latu in the past couple of seasons, outstanding form, not only for her Mystic side, but we saw her in the World Series. She was up against Casey Williams, you know, arguably the best defender in the world. She proved she is capable of being a Silver Fern. I don't doubt that she will be in there as soon as, you know, she's eligible. So big loss for Samoa, but certainly a player for the future, and I'm sure the Samoan girls will be extremely proud of what she has done to date.
We've been here in India actually longer than most of the teams have for Australia. We caught up with them at training just the other day, and they look steely, don't they?
They do. I had a brief chat with Monia Gerard, and she said, you know, the bus rides, the braking, the sudden, at the start of when they first got here, players were dropping hands over their heads thinking that something was going to happen. But I think now we're here, players feel safe. We've been out to the village where the players are, they're happy, the food's great. Bed's maybe a little bit hard for netballers and a little bit small, but other than that, everything seems to be ticking over just nicely.
Australia past 2 Commonwealth Games, gold and silver. They'll be wanting the gold this time round, and Norma Plummer has said that they will be doing everything that they possibly can. They've got just about everything in place that you could possibly imagine, haven't they?
Certainly, and it was just tough to make this 12. You know, Norma Plummer, she took a punt, she named her 12 after the first test against New Zealand, which was a different way of doing it. It was very hard for these players. Players like Kate Beveridge, they missed out, so it certainly has been tough.
Interested spectators here in Delhi, game 1 of the netball. It's been such a long time coming, and the first up clash here today is between Samoa and the world champions Australia.
And I guess for a number of these players, all at the opening ceremony last night, pretty early start, 9:30 games. You don't usually get test matches at 9:30 in the morning, so probably a bit of a shock. They would have been up probably 5:30 this morning.
You wonder if these chaps have ever watched a game of netball before. But not too many of the team's families have travelled to India for these games.
No.
So I think until finals time, crowds may be thin. For Samoa, Tanya, well, the starting seven's reasonably strong. It's led by 68 test veteran Frances Solia. She plays for the Waikato Bay of Plenty Magic, and she will lead her team with absolute pride.
She certainly will. A player with experience, her side will look to her to bring it through that midcourt, to feed the ball over those sharp Australian defenders. So she will, as a player that gives nothing but 110%.
Australia led by their flag bearer, Sherelle McMahon. She's playing at goal shoot with Nat Medhurst, so no tall timber in their shooting circle. A really solid midcourt. You'd have to say that that's probably their top 7. Susan Furman at the back.
Certainly is. I guess they've got variety there. Down the end, Furman's more the taller defender. Geitz is probably the not quite so tall but more agile. But Furman has certainly proven her worth for Australia over the last season.
Samoa have never come close to Australia, and I think you'd expect the same today, but plenty of value for both teams from an exchange like this.
Oh, without doubt. You know, Australia, it's going through their routines from getting on the bus, getting here, to their defensive structures, attacking moves. Against a team like Samoa, who are a pretty free-flowing team, they can get this all out and tune it through.
Monique Va'ai on your screen there. She's the goalkeeper for Samoa. And they'll be reasonably pleased, I should imagine, that the Aussies are fielding their shorter shooting combination because not much height in the Samoan defensive circle either.
You say short, but we've seen them. They're fast. Reggie, she'll certainly have her work cut out for her in there.
Anyone playing against the calibre of someone like Sherelle McMahon, her 4th Commonwealth Games. And what a special player. Pass off game 1, Delhi 2010.
I'm sure each player will just want to get their hands on the ball, get this started.
McMahon out of the circle. That's how she likes to play. She likes to rotate the circle, get the movement going. Nurse takes the penalty. And Medhurst, baseline.
It's Pilu penalised early.
The first goal for these Commonwealth Games, and it's scored by Australia. Samoan centre pass now, Solia, goal attack side.
Both Solia and Va'asavalu out, same side.
And the attacking combination in the circle for Samoa, Malu Fa'asavalu combining with Sepi Langi, who's a former Swifts player, former New South Wales Swifts player, played in Sydney 2004-2005, so no shortage of experience. Furman penalised already, they'll set the penalty. And a chance to steady for Samoa, one apiece.
And good feeling, sinking that first shot for Langi.
Callanan now used, and Medhurst goal attack side swings it.
And McMahon, she's so good at rolling the top of the circle. And not afraid to put it up.
Yeah, the big step in, and there's another one to Australia. Fa'asavalu now, wing attack side. So Solia and Fa'asavalu doing a nice job of switching things around.
But Langi there and Fa'asavalu mix up.
Turnover one, turnover two. Solia takes the throw in.
Again, both shooters out.
And I think you'll expect Samoa to do this all day, Tanya. They're going to have to work their way through this wall of Australian defence.
Gerard and Furman, tight, man on man, sticking with their own.
Penalty set, circle edge. And this time, Gerard called. He's a feisty character, as Monia Gerard. First rebound of the match goes Australia's way, and they fire it through court. Medhurst, circle edge. And McMahon decides to give and get.
Does that so quickly.
Yeah, the ball speed is just absolutely phenomenal, isn't it?
Yes, come with that, please. Thank you.
This time, Medhurst will have a crack, and it's good. Just going to retrieve her bib. So 3-1 it is. Australia marching on against Samoa, already the early advantage. Uncharacteristic in this quarter, around McMahon, but her buddy picks up for her.
And for McMahon, pretty big, 12 hours ago. Flag bearer for her country.
Another scrap goes Australia's way. Medhurst wing attack side this time, and the throw in.
Pilu there.
Australia trying plenty of different things, moving the ball down both sides of the court already, and you can imagine that coach Norma Plummer would have sent her team out saying, let's try everything in this first up game. And interesting too to see that Norma Plummer has named more or less a starting seven, a top seven. I wonder if that's an indication for the rest of this tournament.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see, in the next game whether the Silver Ferns do the same sort of thing. I'm sure she'll try and get the majority of her squad on the court.
And there's a pick-up for Samoa.
It's Pilu. She's had her hands to a few balls. I guess for Samoa, it's that once they get the turn-off over, it's that getting the ball through and finishing off down the other end, which is the struggle for them.
Bullet passes right through court for Australia. McMahon converts. Pretty to watch.
And it's that second phase of the centre pass that Samoa are struggling with. They're getting out for that first one, turning, nothing's on.
I think it's called a wall of gold, T.
Callanan, Von Berto keeping their feeders off the circle edge.
And the circle edge feeders for Samoa will earn their keep today, that's for sure. They try to work it around again. This time Langi has a crack over the long arms of Susan Furman. Nice shot.
Falls in. And that looks like a break for Nurse.
Breaking call.
A little bit over eager.
So about 9.5 minutes left in this first spell now. 6-2 it is. Australia over Samoa. Comes up short. Furman gathers, and we're away again.
And Furman, nice long outlet pass.
Unbelievable straight lines. The transition through court, pretty magnificent so far for the Aussies.
Better release there from Salia on that 1 second.
Langi's out and finds her teammate and her captain, Solia Fa'asavalu. And talking to the Samoan coach, Linda Wagner, an old teammate of yours, Tanya, the Silver Ferns, she said that the importance of converting against a team like Australia. And unfortunately, so far, her team, statistically, as far as the shooting goes, letting her down a little.
And I guess it's the fine line for their shooters. You know, they miss a couple, they lose a bit of confidence, they start passing it around and then they lose it. So I think best bet, turn, put it up, rather than play it around too much.
Another chance now, though, for Samoa. Williams, who uses her defenders.
Sola Esi and Tapilu needing to bring it up all the way to the transverse line.
Langi out of the circle, so no one home. Got some work to do on structuring their circle penetration, have Samoa. Tries a little pass, you can't do that against Susan Furman. Umpire Mandy Nottingham, though, makes the call. And interesting as a defender, Tanya, it's so difficult when you're playing from behind a player to do so tidily.
Got to come through with that away hand, keep your body off them.
Halfway through the first spell now. Tiagaraj Stadium here in Delhi. Game 1 of the netball in these Commonwealth Games. 7-3 it is.
Again, another little misunderstanding for the Australian Diamonds. Probably still maybe a little bit anxious. First game, early start.
Well, many of the athletes wouldn't have gotten to bed after the opening ceremony until a wee small hours, and then an early start to get to the venue. So no surprise, they're a little jittery. Langi now finds Fa'asavalu.
Better flow from Samoa. Exactly what she needs to do for Fa'asavalu. Put it up.
7-4, 6.5 minutes left in the first spell, and the Samoan pass. So a strong stanza of play from the Pacific Islanders. Gee, Solia charges through. She spent a lot of time on court against Von Berto, though, so she certainly won't be fazed by some of these big Aussie names. And I think that's one of the things about this Commonwealth Games, with the advent of the ANZ Championships. A lot of these players will be super familiar with all of the opponents that they come up against.
Certainly is, and often, you know, when you play for Samoa, a team like Australia, you're in awe. You give away 10 goals just because you're in shock you're playing against, you know, world champions. So, very true. Salia would have passed on information about the individual players. And, you know, look, it's 8-4. You could have expected Aussie to have pulled away even more.
Yeah, make that 9-4, because I think someone's just hit the on button for Australia, Tanya. 2 goals in quick succession, and Sherelle McMahon running around like a buzzy bee.
Gerard on Fa'asavalu's back. One of the tightest markers in the game.
Furman again stepping down, and Langi makes the most of it. And that super mobile Australian circle. When Sherelle McMahon gets a head of steam up, she's unstoppable. Offloads to Medhurst, who finishes.
And quite often against that style attacker, you know, you end up just chasing.
Langi again out of the circle. Samoa trying to keep those straight lines going. And she sees the gap.
Salia hits that hot spot, top of the circle, circle edge.
Almost on, 4 minutes left. First quarter, Australia, Samoa.
And Samoa putting on a bit of a four-prong defence. Zone-type defence. Filling up the gaps.
Though, a bit of a late charge. But at least she was out hunting, which is exactly what you want to achieve from putting on a zone or a prong defence. No surprise that a Linda Wagner coach side is showing such qualities. The big one across to Williams. And better stuff from Samoa, using ball speed and using the whole circle. Finished well. Medhurst uses Gerard on the transverse line. And there we are, it's becoming a bit of a signature, isn't it? McMahon out and the magic feed into Medhurst.
And just a simple little dodge from Medhurst.
So 3 minutes remaining in the first spell. 12-7, Australia over Samoa.
Salia working for that front space. Again, Fasavalu, you've got to take your feet. You can't stand against the likes of Gerard. Gerard just so effective at coming around with that away hand and that quick footwork.
Australia just getting a real run on these past couple of minutes. Turnover though, McMahon called for contact.
Yeah, pushing, using her hands.
Solia dances around the circle edge, careful not to go offside. And Fa'asavalu takes the throw in. Gerard, surprise, surprise, called for obstruction. She loves to have a conversation with the umpire, does Gerard? And a beautiful aerial shot shows the conversion.
Again, another break for Samoa. Just got to score off their own. Plug away.
They swing it again, so they're using what we call in netball the triangles, the circle edge and the 45s, to be able to move the ball around those Australian defenders. Nothing but net. Sepi Langi brings it back to within 4, just over a minute remaining in this first spell. Nurse in the corner, splendid.
McMahon drawed the defenders, leaving Medhurst all on her lonesome.
Coach Norma Plummer no doubt will have plenty to say at quarter time. Hallinan picks up another.
Samoa seem to be more effective when they get that centre pass away on the first second, that first phase. Not giving Australia time to set up.
The defensive mid-court combination of Vomberto and Renee Hallinan really effective. Great feed Samoa and over the arms of Furman again. So Sepi Langi doing a splendid job wearing the goal shoot bib for Samoa, and turnover again. So a strong late charge from Samoa here against the world champions.
And Samoa, world ranking of 9, up against Australia, world ranking 1. So I'm sure Norma Plummer will have a bit to say at quarter break.
And there's another. So just 3 in it as we hit the quarter break. Australia looked like they were going to pull away, but in fact it's Samoa who've late charged. And heading to the first quarter break, it's Australia who lead, but it's just by 13-9. (14-11) as second quarter action starts at Tiagaraj Stadium here in Delhi. Australia against Samoa, the score 14-11. A late charge from Samoa. You can imagine at the quarter time break, Tanya Dalton, Norma Plummer would have had plenty to say to her green and gold.
Yeah, and it's obviously paid off too, because they've come out, they've broken straight away, scored, and there you go.
Suddenly 15-11 for Samoa, though. The first quarter performance, encouraging stuff, is Solia.
And yeah, for Samoa, they got the turnovers. They were scoring. Langi was shooting from out wide with confidence, and that's what they need to do. When they turn them over, they've got to finish it off.
Great hands to it, Hallinan, for a mid-quarter. She's tall as Renee Hallinan. 1.78 m, and against Frances Solia, well, we saw during the ANZ Championship when the two faced off against one another, she caused her real trouble. Medhurst now sitting back in the goal shoot role, really, which is one of the great things about this shorter combination for Australia.
Well, they both play a goal shoot, goal attack role, mix it up. Sherelle comes all the way up to the transverse line.
Double turnover, Australia throwing.
And Australia all of a sudden starting to put a bit of length on the passes, look over the mess.
And Medhurst inches until she's right under the post.
So with less than 2 minutes, Aussie have put 4 goals on Samoa.
Yes, a feisty start to the second spell, all right. And no surprise, because they did look sluggish in that first spell as Samoa worked the angles. And Langi, Seppi Langi, she's had a fine game for Samoa. Notches another one.
And you can see some set of passes coming out here for the Aussie Diamonds.
I will be called by Mandy Nottingham. She's really riding the back of Sherelle McMahon. Offloads. (18-12) now. So the Australian Diamonds have come out in the second spell, Tanya, and they have well and truly put the brick on the accelerator.
Exactly, and I'm sure Norma would have said tidy it up. She'll want to get a lot of the rest of the squad on in the second half.
I'm sure Norma would have said a lot. Her team to be leading Samoa by just 3 at quarter time. She would have had some strong words. Gerard puts pressure on the shot, penalised though.
And a bit of an ear shot there for Azvalu.
The worst kind. Samoa swing it. And Frances Solia, a real strength of her game is using those angles and feeding from the pockets.
And just the way she uses her body, holds that space. Her work rate is outstanding.
Langi works the baseline beautifully. And she's having an excellent shooting game. Medhurst now.
McMahon free on the base. Medhurst had drawn both defenders.
Gerard, the away hand to it, such a skilled player. Oh. And Hallinan, the intercept. Nurse swings it to Von Berto. You can read it like a book. Beautiful angles, Australia. McMahon adds another 21-13, and there's the intercept, Hallinan.
She's quite a tall wing defender, 1.78 centimetres. Extremely athletic.
Heading their way to the magic 10, that 10-goal buffer. And it's quite a crucial one when you're out on court, isn't it, Tanya? When you have that 10-goal cushion, it means that you can start to get some real freedom into your play.
Yeah, you can push on, you can let it go like they're starting to do. You see the Australians are looking long, looking over the mess.
And just something to watch for, just observing here at Tiagaraj Stadium, a zone defence in the circle being played then by Susan Furman and Monia Gerard. So let's keep an eye out for that. Something we haven't seen from them as a combination. The Samoans now know that they're going to have to try and stay in touch as Williams sets on the circle edge.
soon as the Samoan shooters are entering into the circle, the Aussies are hitting them hard. Savalu trying to hold her ground.
Their movement's being so restricted. As a shooter, Tanya, you try to. I know you don't like the term circle rotation, but you try to keep that movement going, and this Australian defence is preventing that from happening.
Well, you've got to be so careful. You can't get stagnant, so you've got to do the work prior to the ball getting there. You've got to do your preparation.
Looked like a clean intercept from Vomberto, but the turnover goes the other way. So another chance now for Samoa. Langi finds Solia in the pocket and goes again herself.
Just getting a little bit stagnant in there.
Look at that lean. Susan Furman, she's got such long levers. 1.96 m she is. Gerard on guard, tries to get a hand to it, but it'll go the way of Samoa. Savalu tries the little fake, but the Aussies are onto it.
Working hard for every ball to go in. Huge relief there.
Yeah, a shot like that helps, doesn't it? Just over 8 minutes remaining in the second spell and 8 goals in it, as the Aussies weave their magic. Brilliant.
And Hallinan showing her attacking skills there from the transverse line into the circle. Oh, again, she features.
And if there's a star player so far, for me, I know it's a thankful star being the wing defence, but Renee Hallinan simply stunning.
And
turnover though,
up against the most experienced Samoan player in Francis Solia. 68 caps for her.
And a hugely influential player for her country, Francis Solia, such an unsung hero. Savalu runs into Monia Gerard.
She's going to earn her dinner tonight, I think, her little buttered chicken.
Savalu now, but boy, over the arms of Gerard. She's up to it though. 24-16, 7 minutes remaining until half time.
Williams gets a touch.
And a heavy fall. Medhurst scrapes herself up.
And I guess that's the other thing for teams, Reg, you know, injuries. If it's a 50-50 chance of getting injured against teams like this, you're going to pull back.
Footwork this time. Hallinan sets and Nurse to the hot spot. Beautiful straight lines, Australia. And this is called taking a tumble. Williams for Samoa combines with her mid-court companion, Francis Solia. And good structured play, quite New Zealand-like, really.
And Langi getting the front cut there on Furman. That's what she's got to do.
They'll have another crack at it, will Samoa? They get the throw in. Good patience shown by Samoa. And Savalu converts. 25-16. So Samoa staying well and truly in touch with the world champions so far. Beautiful drive and front cut. Sherelle McMahon. Just perfect execution. It may not be flashy, Tanya Dalton, but the Samoans are maintaining, aren't they? Savalu now finds her feet.
I think what you find is they're looking a little bit more tired. Aussies are on their back. Every ball is being contested. It's hard yakka out there, especially down that attacking end.
Well, you also think about the number of passes that Samoa require as opposed to Australia, who are through court, you know, 2 passes, 1 in each third, and boom.
And this is where the preparation, the fitness work prior to this Commonwealth Games will pay off.
Amazing two-armed lean Furman. But Fa'asavalu straight over the top of it. 4.5 minutes remaining now until half-time. 26-18, the world champions leading Samoa. And McMahon adds another.
And the way McMahon hits the post, pops back, always an option. Timing impeccable.
Gee, Nat Von Berto, she's just all over it, isn't it? She's 27, so she's a very experienced player, but she's just 1.75 meters. And I know our Sky colleague, Catherine Harvey-Williams, would even challenge that, the former Australian captain. She reckons that both Laura and Nat Von Berto perhaps add a couple of centimetres to their profile heights.
Such a lovely player to watch, the way she links that ball through the midcourt. They certainly rely on her.
And so tenacious. Oh, what a lean. Gerard picks up the scraps. Great rebound. And there you go. 1-2 passes through court. Stunning. Ominous signs. And Sherelle McMahon running at 93%. So she's having a boomer of a game. As is Natalie Medhurst.
And we've seen this combination, you know, in the Silver Fern series. Their timing, the way they split that circle, it's pretty to watch.
Okay, here we go. Here's the prong defence from Australia, Tanya.
Yep.
Massively unusual.
So Gerard there floating.
And a good strategy to employ, really, and that's exactly what it sets out to achieve. And when you think a player like Susan Furman, the umpire is drawn into her game quite a lot. She's a physical player, as is Gerard.
So it just takes the pressure off a bit. They're filling in the gaps, they're hunting the ball, and as we saw there, a turnover for Gerard. Oh, McMahon. How she even got a touch to that.
Still, it offers an opportunity for Samoa. They trail at the moment. Australia leading 30-18. 2 minutes now left until half-time. Fa'asavalu over the top, but no. The long, long arms of Renee Hallinan scoop that up, and Australia are away again.
And Hallinan, you know, their height. So Leah trying and up to go back there. Too hard. Hallinan, athletic ability.
We saw it so many times during the ANZ Championship. They were just wearing different colours. Fa'asavalu out. And the old give and get. Tries to offload. Can't do that against these Australian defenders.
Too easy to read that little pass.
Called for distance. And to be honest, Chris Campbell probably not in the best position. That was a great lean from Furman. Still, there we go, Divine Justice.
Fa'asavalu, her shot just a bit short, hitting the ring. Pretty hard to get a rebound over the likes of Susan Furman.
Brooke Williams now, and Langi out of the circle. Worked well for them in the first quarter.
Again, they've got to get that circle moving. It's just a little bit stagnant. Open it up.
Oh, beautiful. Really nicely done, and good patient feed from the Samoan captain.
Easy drive for Medhurst.
The Australians certainly starting to make it look easy. We're marching towards half-time. And this has been a second spell utterly dominated by Australia, as Von Berto this time a hand to it. Amazing baseline drive. And that will bring to a close this first half. The world champions Australia up against Samoa in their Commonwealth Games opener. And so far, well, no surprises really. The Australians have dominated. It's 32-19, Australia over Samoa at the half-time break. Thiagaraj Stadium in Delhi, where the third quarter has just begun. The world champions Australia up against Samoa. Australia first blood, so 33-19 the score. And Samoa know in this championship quarter, as they call the third spell, Tanya Dalton, they're just going to need to stay in touch.
They are. They're going to need to sink the goals, score off the turnovers. Yeah, and use this wisely for the remainder of their tournament.
Changes for Australia. Kim Green on at wing attack. Catherine Cox introduced at goal shoot, and her New South Wales Swifts buddy Susan Prattley on at goal attack.
And down the other end, Laura Geitz comes in at goal keep, so Susan Furman takes a rest.
And Australian coach Norma Plummer making the most of this opportunity. The Australians had a sluggish start to things. They led by just 3 at quarter time, so the second spell well and truly belonged to them. As the Diamonds pick up another scrap. And Susan Prattley and Kath Cox will be really keen to get into their work quickly. And they do. Beautiful angles. And Susan Prattley would have wanted to sink that. She's a confidence player.
She got up, she took it with authority.
And a stepping call, footwork.
And Kimberly Green, first Commonwealth Games. Her mum represented Australia in swimming 40 years ago, so her mum will be very proud.
What a combination. They play together in the ANZ Championships, and you can just see the fluidity in their game. I think we're in for a spectacle, Tanya.
I think you might be right. And no changes for Samoa.
Laura Geitz, so quick to make the most of her opportunity on court, and the Aussies fly through court. Prattley, Von Berto, oh, stunning. Copybook netball. And there's the away hand, Laura Geitz. That's a brilliant piece of defence.
Oh, Prattley-Green combination, just that centre pass, first phase, letting it go right to the top of the circle.
It's almost an innate understanding as Samoa now try to get one back. But Asavalu from wide out comes up short.
Yeah, her shot today just seems to be hitting the front of the ring. Just needs a little bit more height.
Easy said.
Often that happens when you're tired or a little bit nervous.
Or both. No issues for Catherine Cox though. And Linda Wagner, the former Silver Fern, from a teammate of yours, Tanya Dalton, looks on, the coach for Samoa. And baseline, Susan Prattley. She's so stealth along the baseline when she plays goal attack, Prattley, isn't she? It's beautiful to watch.
Yeah, she creeps along there. You hardly even know she's there, then out she pops. Okay, Gerard caught, penalised out.
Oh, and she just read that like a book, Laura Geitz. And actually so interesting in this opening game to have the contrast of Susan Furman, who played the first spell, and now Laura Geitz, who's a little bit more evasive.
Yeah, not quite the height of Furman, but so athletic, not only on the high balls, but down low. We just saw her come around and get one of those little bounce passes. So, you know, these players are playing for spots for starting lineups in the big game, so they've all got a point to prove.
And that takes the Australians out to a 21-goal margin already in this third spell. And you can guarantee that Catherine Cox will make that 22. She does.
Yeah, Coxie coming right out, giving room for Prattley to get that drive.
Williams and Solia combine again, and it's a free gift straight down the throat of Laura Geitz. And the contact called against Susan Prattley, I think it was. So an opportunity for the Samoans. Williams tries to drive, but Humberto's right on her back, riding her like a pony.
Yes. Finest contact on instructing.
Williams under all sorts of pressure. The Samoans stuttering through, but the nice fake to Langi. And a lovely high shot finishes it. Could have been beautiful. Oh, and bad luck. Called for offside in the end, and the perspiration will be on the boards now, so one of the volunteers comes out with a towel just to wipe up that perspiration.
We've seen plenty of them.
About 30,000 of them, I think, actually, Tanya, here in Delhi. There's Cox. Just plucks the ball out of mid-air, gets her own rebound eventually, and finishes. Just over 9 minutes remaining in the third spell. 42-21, Australia over Samoa. And Tyagaraja Stadium here in Delhi.
Aussie putting on that prong defence.
And they're filling spaces when they do this almost zone defence. It's very New Zealand, for want of a better term.
They're making players look like there's room to go, but when the ball goes there, into the gap they go.
Rebound, Laura Geitz, and they're away again. And you look at the numbers on the interceptions, 9-1.
Well, Laura Geitz has come on and she's got about 3 already. Helen, and I can think of a number, so.
Yes, I think defensively solid would be an understatement on describing Australia's game here. Langi tries again into the pocket to her captain, Frances Solia, and scooped up Monia Gerard.
And sheer frustration for the Samoan attackers. They're trying so hard, but just so tough.
Prattley nets another. Halfway through the third spell, 43-21, the Aussies over Samoa. Green, the big lob in.
And that's probably what we didn't see in the first half with the shorter shooters. Coxie, tall, they can look over.
Just a sense, though, against a more quality opposition, if you like, that the Aussies are going to have to push the ball a little further. On a couple of occasions, Kath Cox has really had to, dip down and pluck out of thin air. So I think Green needs to work a little bit on her timing of the feed. Solia, meantime, finds Langi. Savalu, my apologies, who capitalises. Gerard on the transverse line.
Such a beautiful attacker, Gerard. Often used on that transverse line.
Such a strong presence.
And just so calm with the ball.
All sorts of hustle and bustle going on in that circle.
Again, Green just needs a little bit more finesse on that feed, trying to jam it through.
Renee Hallinan all over Frances Solia. Fa'azavalu, lovely footwork. And you see the effectiveness of using the ball and ball speed to get around those Australian defenders. And there's the turnover. It's almost like volleyball. Williams now, just under 6 minutes remaining until three-quarter time, 45-22. Australia leads Samoa.
Fa'asavalu having to come right out the head. You can't get caught standing against these Australian defenders.
Especially in Australian defence, playing a floating defensive game. Umberto and Hallinan combine, and Catherine Cox out of the circle. Wow, on fire.
Better feel from Green. Change of pace, change of timing.
And Cox right under the post.
Varnish obstructing goal attack.
And there's the footwork again from Fa'asavalu, and it's so effective. She's really able to step around Gerard, helping tremendously. Langi, nice and easy under pressure. And as we said, the 27-year-old Samoan goal kick, she's had plenty of experience. She's played in Australia. She was a Swift, a Sydney Swift in those days, 2004, 2005. She's done a great job for her country today.
Varnish breaking goal attack, Australia.
So Leah, fantastic drive to the edge.
And some real glimpses for Samoa. I know they trail heavily on the scoreboard, but wow.
Well, did you see that pass?
What was that?
Topspin forehand.
Like a softball pitch. Well, the result, a turnover. Samoa march their way through court now using the square. They'll look to go straight again, and they do to Williams. Needing plenty of patience, all right, the Samoan side against Australia. Fa'asavalu. Lovely combinations.
Nice, yeah, nice patience from Samoa. Using the ball, putting the ball into space.
And a good offload.
Varnish breaking goal attack.
Just about held ball, but Samoans maintain their composure.
Solesi trying to get free.
And just not an option. Held ball.
And sometimes that's what happens in a tight game. Your vision gets shortened and you need to look over the mess.
Green, the bullet pass. And they're starting to make it look easy, are the Australians? 2.5 minutes left until three-quarter time. 21 goals in at 48-27. Cox.
Oh, and Prattley putting up the screen, then rolling out. Seen that move many a time from Prattley and Catherine Cox.
Just a delightful understanding between them. And they look like they're having a good time out there.
Oh, it's probably the easiest turnover she's got today.
Bit of a 40-20. Safe hands of Renee Hallinan, and now a shooting opportunity for Catherine Cox. Nothing but net.
Samoans a little bit slower at getting that ball back to the centre.
Obstructing goal defense.
Nat Von Berto, easy pass, baseline, and a great offload to Cox. Super stuff from the Australians. Fa'asavalu, lovely on the goal attack side, so good variety on the centre pass from Samoa. Away hand Monia Gerard called though.
A little give-get there from Fa'asavalu. Sulia.
And that rapid transition through court from the Aussies.
Kimberly Green, just a misunderstanding.
Lollipop pass to no one, throwing Samoa now. And Brooke Williams is there.
Yes. Varnish moving off centre. Varnish obstructing ring attack.
Good, solid, patient attack from Samoa. Good straight lines. They're squaring and then going again. And that's what happens when you don't. If you try the cross courts against a defence like Australia, It's exactly what will happen. Turnover time. Gerard. And Cox out of the circle.
She loves using that head top of the circle.
So a real late flurry from this world champion Australian side. As we head to the end of the third quarter here at Tiagaraj Stadium. And that does bring to a close the third spell. It's been another one dominated by the world champion Australians. And they'll head to the break with 15 more to play. 53-27 ahead of Samoa. Fifteen minutes remaining at Tiagaraj Stadium here in Delhi. It's the world champions Australia up against Samoa. 54-27 the score is. No surprise, the Australians are the ones who are dominating. And Tanya Dalton changes galore again in the green and gold.
Well, you see down the defensive end, Rebecca Bully, the only one that didn't come on in that third quarter, so she gets the nod in this one. It means the whole squad has now been on the court. For Samoa, a change of the shooting end. Monica Fuima Ono comes on at goal shoot, and she is certainly tall timber. Edwards comes on at wing defence, and Robertson in at goal defence.
Yes.
And to be honest, with such a big deficit, Linda Wagner, the Samoan coach, really did have to try something to make some inroads.
Oh, definitely. And it's about getting these players out on court, getting this campaign started for Samoa. Monica Fuimaono is an experienced player, tall, so she'll provide a solid target in there for the feeders because it was starting to get stagnant. Langi, I thought she started extremely well, but yeah, it was time to mix it up.
Aussies charging through. Kath Coxall, set, shoot, net. So Frances Solier will really try to guide her team, her Samoan team, through this last 15 minutes. And lovely finishing. And Kath Cox, Tanya, she's such a seasoned veteran, isn't she?
She certainly is. 77 test caps, age 34. I saw her at the opening ceremony last night. Her face said it all. She was having an absolute blast. So I'm sure it would have been a rude awakening to have a 9:30 start today.
It's kind of like Saturday club netball, isn't it? The old 9:30 start down at the courts.
Yeah.
But a Zavalu now for Samoa. Sets and shoots. And Laura Geitz will be penalised for distance this time. The offload to Fuima Ono. And she's good for it. Green charges and Prattley stealth along that baseline again. Gets herself nice and close to the net and converts.
And the rally starts with the ball in its centre. Brooke Williams has gone to the side.
Robertson and Solier, the mid-court exchange. They go again. Straight into the hands of Renee Hallinan, who's had a mighty game at wing defence for Australia.
And Samoa just haven't learnt that you can't go over her. You've got to keep it short. Play the front space on Hallinan because those long arms.
or snaffle anything.
Yes.
Prattley right on the circle edge, but takes the step in. And we'll say a big thank you to Catherine Cox, no doubt about it.
And on those shots, the ball seems to be sitting on that ring, and then some of them are bouncing in. We saw Langi earlier in the game. You can see there the rebound stats.
Australia doing a fine job at snaffling pretty much anything that comes their way. Not just the rebounds either. They've had an amazing game defensively. And Rebecca Bully floating now. Just hanging out in that goal defence area, the one where all goal defences like to go hunting, Tanya.
3 foot mark over everything.
Contact centre, Australia.
Fa'a Savalu now, she uses Solia. Her combination with Solia has just been fantastic.
Koi Mauno not even looking at the goal. You've got to sell it. You've got to say, hey, I'm going to put this up, and then decide. And I think that's what Fa'a Savalu has learnt. Turn and put it up.
Coming up, 9.5 minutes remaining in this first match of the Delhi Commonwealth Games for netball. And it's the Australians, the world champions, who've been wholly dominant. 60-32, they lead Samoa. And Robertson straight. Free gift, really. Could have had a red ribbon around it to Hallinan. Now Von Berto combines with Susan Prattley. Easy stuff for Australia. And what a benefit, that's the bomb in.
And with a target like her under the post.
It's really changed the dynamic of the Samoan game, the introduction of Fuima Ono.
She's certainly a tall player. She's 1.92 centimetres. She's played back in National Bank Cup days, still plays in the Auckland Premier competition.
And her introduction brings the Samoan game to more like the style that we're used to seeing from them when they had Catherine Latu in there as a target.
Probably doesn't like to shoot the long one, as we saw there. Probably guilty of passing it in and out just that once too often. When you get an opportunity to shoot against the Australians, my advice would be...
Take it. Halfway through the final quarter now. Norma Plummer and her coaching staff look on as Australia are dominating Samoa in this opening exchange. Better angles, Samoa.
Shot the pass. Yep.
And Fa'a Savalu sure and steady again.
You can see the Australian side mixing up those centre passes, using those back defenders to drive through.
And Susan Prattley having an absolute field day on the baseline. Fa'a Savalu for Samoa again now.
And you can see there, Geitz trying to push her out, knowing she doesn't like the long shot.
It's actually really difficult as a defender to play against such a big unit, for want of a better term, a tall player with a bit of size to her. You really have to hang off and try and get around with your away hand. It's a real challenge as a defender, and I have to say that the young Samoan goal shoot, Fuima Ono, is doing a really good job. Just needs to put those goals up. Turnover again, and Cox finds Prattley. swish.
I guess for Moana, you know, she's had Catherine Latu to learn from the master of that hold.
Certainly a lovely player to watch. Australia, the throw-in, bully, Hallinan straight through court. And then they swing it.
And Prattley, almost a basketball screen to then turn, get that triangle ball off green.
5.5 minutes left to run. 65-35, and a piece of magic from the Australians.
And the Aussies there overloading on that centre pass on one side.
They pick up the scraps again to Australia, and Kimberly Green regathers. Good reading of the ball. Edwards for Samoa. Collects. Pretty even on the turnovers, but you have to say that Australia are the ones who've made the most of any turnover ball that they've gained.
Obstructing goal defense. Goal defense. Yeah.
Lovely shot for Asavalu. And there we go, Edwards, a hand to it and good retrieval.
I guess, Reg, for Samoa, down 30 goals. We saw just a couple of months ago lose to the Silver Ferns by 64 goals.
Exactly.
So a vast improvement for them, and I'm sure Coach Linda Wagner will certainly take some positives out of this match today.
She absolutely will. And when we caught up with Linda Wagner, you know, pre-tournament, she said that it's been such a challenge for her to bring the Samoan campaign together. Financial challenges, the fact that her players are based, you know, spread throughout Samoa, New Zealand and Australia, so they don't exactly have a cohesive lead-in.
And this performance out here today, the start they had, can only give them confidence for the remainder of the tournament.
And so too for Australia, really. They're starting to look slightly globetrotter-like, you know. Beautiful ball movement, good combinations. So Coach Norma Plummer will take a lot of heart out of this performance. Oh, Fa'asavalu. What a great pass.
And Fui Mauno giving herself room under that post, not getting caught on the baseline, which is a real skill for a shooter. And Prattley again sneaking along the baseline.
You almost sense that the combination between Cox and Prattley, they could almost play blindfolded and still find each other in the circle. Robertson now for Samoa finds her captain. And a little dance along the sideline into no man's land, and surprise, surprise, it's Hallinan who picks up the scraps. Prattley through the mess, adds another one for Australia.
Oh, 1 second release, boom, 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 simple stuff.
Less than 2 minutes to run now, this opening game of netball at the Delhi Commonwealth Games. Oh no, she's come on strongly in this final spell for the Samoans. Gee, it's almost like deja vu all over again.
And Catherine Cox, her ability to come out, turn and put those passes into Prattley, it's just precision placement of that ball.
Oh, just pretty fake from Fa'asavalu, and Fuima Ono converts.
She's probably saying to herself, why haven't I done that all day? And 2 defenders there. Fa'asavalu's still trying to put that big ball in. It's not always going to work.
The Australians march through court as they have for the past hour really here at Tiagaraj Stadium. A fine start to their Commonwealth Games campaign. Catherine Cox makes sure of another one. Bit of a late charge, and the penalty will be taken by Susan Prattley. She adds another for Australia. And they begin their 2010 Commonwealth Games campaign with a comprehensive win over Samoa, 76-39. Tanya Dalton, you'd call that a pass mark.
Yep, I'd give them a big pass. But, you know, for Samoa, I thought they came out, they started strong. I thought this game could actually even blow out more. So for them, there are some positives that came out of it. I think the thing that impressed me about the Australian team is the defensive structure, the way they mixed it up down their attacking end, the variety of centre passes, the moves in the circle, and I guess the whole squad on.
Yes, we saw a stock of combinations. What did you take from the various combinations out there in the gold dress?
Well, I think you're looking down the shooter end, you've got the shorter, nippier type with Medhurst and McMahon, but then you mix it up. Cox and Prattley, they've got this innate ability, they know where each other are, they've played together for years, so you've got 2 real distinct combinations there. Down the other end, Furman, you know, she's outstanding, but you look at the quarter time there, you know, Samoa in it there, but then Australia pulling away, especially in that final quarter, 23-12.
Yes, you'd have to say that the first quarter was certainly encouraging for Samoa. Their coach, Linda Wagner, said that she just wanted her team to make the most of any possession that they had, and they did so for much of the game.
I guess the big thing with Samoa is they quite often get the turnover and they struggle then to score from it. At the start they were doing all right with it, but that is part of their game that they struggle with.
Let's take in some of the match highlights now, and yes, you talked about that mobile shooting combination. Gee whiz, Medhurst and McMahon, ominous signs.
Without doubt, you know, and so quick, the way, the ball movement.
Down the other end, Susan Furman started off with Monia Gerard, so we saw it all for Australian. And Renee Hallinan, you'd have to say, to me, Tanya, the player of the match, she picked up so much ball.
And probably up against, you know, Samoa's most experienced player in Frances Salia. So she was outstanding. Anything that went up over her head, she seemed to pick up. And her driving through the court, her attacking ability to look down, simply outstanding. Stars
all over the court, including Laura Geitz. And as we said, one of the real bonuses, I guess, for Norma Plummer, just that she got to play so many different combinations.
And she provides a real variety down that defence end. More athletic, more nimble, hunts the ball a bit more than the likes of Susan Furman. Hasn't got the height of her. But yeah, I thought she certainly impressed right from the get-up when she got on the court.
Well, the netball competition is finally underway, and we're delighted that it is so. It's been a dominant opening performance for the world champions Australia. They've beaten Samoa here 76-39.